Hi everyone, you're welcome back again to my YouTube channel. It's Emma Does Ties, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to go about the cutting and sewing of this beautiful waistcoat. I decided to use zipper at the front instead of buttons. Before I proceed, if you have not subscribed to the channel, hit on the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the post notification bell so that anytime I upload new video, you will be the very first person to watch it. I have my material here, which is crepe and a zipper. I also have my lining and all other materials that I'll be making use of. I already folded my fabric into two for the back piece, and I make sure what I folded is going to be enough for my bust measurement and stitching allowance. So now at this top here, I'm coming in by 3 inches for my neck width, and then I came down by 1.5 inch for my neck depth for the back, and I'm going to create a small round neckline like this for the back neckline. So once you are through with this, the next thing you're going to go ahead and do is from the center here where you have your fold, you're going to go in by half of your shoulder measurement. For me, my shoulder measurement is 14 and half of that is 7. So from that point, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So now I'm going to connect from my shoulder slope all the way to the top of my neckline. So once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is to take your armhole depth measurement. Just measure around your armhole and divide what you have into 2. So when I do that, I have 7 inches. So from the shoulder slope, I marked that 7 inches, and I'm going to draw this across so that I will be able to draw my armhole. So guys, what I did is that I just made a dotted line to meet the point I just drew across. So now guys, on this line, which is now the chest line, I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4. So I've marked it here. So another thing I'm going to do now to get my curve is that I will get the midpoint of the dotted line. So on this middle, I will go in by half of an inch. So once you're through with this, you will connect from the shoulder with the half inch you went in by and the bust measurements you took on the chest line. So all these 3 points together will be joined together to form a curve which will serve as our armhole. So once I'm through with this, the next thing I want to do is that from my shoulder, I want to measure to the bust point, and my bust point is 10 inches. And for my shoulder to waist is 17 inches. So now I'm marking across the bust measurement that I just marked out, which is shoulder to bust point, and then now I'm marking across the shoulder to waist, which is 17 inches. So when I'm through marking the points out, I'll go ahead and rule a line across the 2 points that I already marked out. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to create my dart, and for this I'm going to be using half of my nipple to nipple measurements. So from the center here, I'm marking half of my nipple to nipple measurements on the chest line, bust line and waist line. So now I will use my ruler to connect all the 3 points to give me a straight line. So once you are through with this, on the waistline, go out on both sides by half of an inch for your dart. So I'm going to connect the points now to meet the top on the line on the chest line. So it's actually simple, just follow it as I'm doing it in the video. So once you are through with that, you're going to come all the way to the bust line here, and you're going to mark out your bust measurement divided by 4. And then on the waistline, you're going to mark your waist measurement divided by 4. Now, because there's a dart here on the waistline, I'm going to measure from this point here to this point. That is the dart leg, and that gave me 1 inch. So I replaced it back to the side so that the waist will not become too tight when we are done. So once you are through with this, go ahead and add extra stitching allowance to the side. So now I'm adding 1 inch on both sides. So once you are done adding the stitching allowance to the sides, we are basically done drafting the pattern for the back piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. As you can see, around the neckline, I made sure not to cut exactly on the line that I drew, and the shoulder as well. But for the armhole area, I just cut on the line. And for the side, I will just cut on the line since I already add my stitching allowance to it. So this is what the back pattern looks like. we're going to go ahead and use it to cut out the front. So for the front pattern, the fabric should be longer than the back pattern because it's going to be longer. So now the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to draw a straight line across at one side here, and this is going to be our zipper allowance. Guys, for this particular jacket, I want to use a zipper for it. So once I'm done drawing the zipper allowance, I'll just place the center back pattern on the line that I've drawn out, just like you see me do in this video. Once you are through with that, just pin it in place so that it doesn't move. Make sure it's a center back pattern on the zipper allowance line. So now we are going to draw out the neckline for the front pattern. So I'm going to place my tape. Remember that the neckline for the back is 1.5 inches. So I extended my tape on the back pattern by 1.5 inch. Then I'm coming down on the depth I want my front neckline to be. So I want 8 inches, which I marked here. I also marked where the width of the back neckline stopped. So the width of the back neckline and the front neckline ought to be exactly the same thing. So now guys, once I've gotten the width, I'm going to just go ahead and connect the both points together to give me the V neckline for the front pattern. Now we are going to get the V shape for the waistcoat in front, and this is very simple. What I'm going to do to get this is the back pattern here. I'm just going to measure and divide what I have into 2 equal halves to get a point. So this is the center. So on this center here, I came down by 4 inches. So I'm drawing a line across this 4 inches point. So I'll just mark the points here as well. So from the center back here, I will just connect like this, and then from the sides, I'm going to connect as well. So I will just go in here by 1 inch before I connect the other side, and that is for our stitching allowance. I hope you guys understand what I am doing here. So now I will connect the other side as well. I'm going to stitch down my dart later, and that will be exactly on the center area where I have my V shape. Now this V shape that I just drew out is going to give us that V shape effect that you see when I wore it earlier on. So now I'm just cutting it out. Just look at how I'm cutting it and do exactly the same. For this waistcoat, I'm going to be using a waist dart. This is my back pattern, and these are the 2 front patterns. This is what it's looking like, and we're going to be having a zipper at the front. So guys, now I'm going to cut out the lining pieces for both the front and the back pieces. I'm done cutting out the lining here, and the lining should be exactly the same as what you have in front. So once you are done cutting out the lining pieces, you're going to start sewing the lining with the actual fabrics. So now you're going to open your actual fabrics, and you're going to place your lining right side facing each other, just like I have done here. The first thing I will do before I go ahead and join them is to stitch down the darts. So now I'm going to make a notch on the area where the dart is so that it shows on the lining pieces as well. For the front pieces, there is also going to be a dart. I will just mark my nipple to nipple measurement. That is what I will use to stitch down my dart. So I will just stitch it all the way down to the V area. I will be stitching my dart both in the front of the actual fabrics and the lining. So guys, I've stitched down the darts. You can see for the back lining and also the back piece of the actual fabrics. So what I'm going to do now is to head over to my sewing machine to stitch the neckline, the armhole, and the bottom part. I will not be stitching the sides and the shoulders. So for the front pieces, I've stitched down the dart on the lining and on the actual fabrics as well. So to join them together, I'll also place the lining and the actual fabric together, right side facing each other, and I'm going to be stitching around the neckline, the zipper area, the bottom part, and then the armhole. I will not be stitching the side and the shoulder. So guys, after I was done stitching down the lining and the actual fabrics, I went ahead to iron out everything, and this is what I have. Remember I told you guys not to stitch the side and so on. I've gone ahead and do the same. So now I'm going to be joining the front and the back pieces on the shoulders. So I'm going to turn the back piece over like this, and I'm going to be placing the front on it. The next thing I'll be doing is that one of the side, I'm just going to turn everything over like this. I'm just turning everything over from one of the sides so that the shoulder align and it will be like fabric to fabric and lining to lining. I really hope you guys understand what I'm trying to do here. Place them together right side facing each other. Put your hand from one of the side and then turn it over to the right side. So once you're through with that, just go ahead and pin it down and stitch down the shoulder area here. I will do the exact same thing for the other shoulder as well. So guys, this is what it looks like after I was done making the stitch. When I turn it open, this is what it looks like. Guys, it really looks neat. The next thing I will do now is to join the sides. So to join the side, I will place the sides together, right side facing each other like this, and I'm going to align the lining to lining, fabric to fabrics on the side. For one of the side, you'll be able to do it from the inside, but for the other side, you won't be able to do it from the inside. So I will just pick one of the side, come in from inside, and then I will pick lining to lining, fabric to fabric, and turn everything over. It's somehow tricky, you just have to be patient with it. So when you turn it over, you will see that you have your fabric to fabric on one side and lining to lining on another side. So what I'm doing here is just to pin it down so that it will make my stitch easier. So just make your stitch all the way around. So now guys, I've made a stitch around, as you can see. This is the front area, and see what it's looking like. Because I've closed up the other side, I will not be able to do the exact same way for the other side. So now I'll use another method to join the other side. I'll place my fabrics right side facing each other like this, and I'm going to pick lining to lining, fabric to fabrics, and I'll go ahead and pin down the fabric area together, and then pin down the part of the lining that I can pin. You will not be able to sew this all the way around like I did on the other side. So what I will do here is to just pin it down to the area where I can actually do. It will get to a point where I cannot stitch. I will just stitch the area that I can stitch, but I will make sure that the area I will not be able to stitch will be on the lining parts. So guys, I've stitched the part that I was able to stitch, and the remaining small part that I was not able to stitch, I've used it to turn my fabrics into the right side. So this is what I had after making my stitch. As you can see, I have a little opening at the place where I was not able to stitch. So I will just go ahead and stitch and stop stitch that small place. I can decide to leave it like this, but I will just go ahead and stitch it anyways. So guys, once you are through with this, the next thing you will do is to place your zipper at the front, and I will advise you to use a zipper that can open into two. So you're going to arrange the zipper from the bottom all the way up, so the excess is going to be at the top. So I'm going to place it like this, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it down, and then when I sew the area I pinned down on the sewing machine, I'm going to cut off the excesses. And guys, that will basically be all for this waistcoat. So guys, this is what we have after I was done with the opening area. Thank you for watching. If you find this helpful, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.